I'm back, bitches. It's 2025, and the number 2 show's hotter than ever. I got Tim Convey today. We're going to talk about my vacation, but first, my favorite segment from 2024, that time I let Tim Allen install my bidet. All that and more today, the number 2 show. Hey, welcome back to the number 2 show, you poo stewards, you deuce droppers, the Bowl Patrol 2025. We're back. We're bigger than ever, and we're harder to push out. It's been great being off. We've got a great episode for you today. I'm excited about it. It's good to be back. I feel like I've been off my throne for so long. I was afraid it could have been usurped while I was away, but it turns out no one can feel my stool. But before we get too deep into the puns, I want to just get the show started with a little segment that I normally would call 15 Minutes with Rizz, but guess what? He ain't here today. I got a special guest. We're about to pivot. It's called 10 Minutes with Tim. Please welcome to the show the one, the only, the incomparable Tim Convey, everybody.
Yeah, good to be here.
Dude, thank you so much for filling in for Rizz and coming in, man. It's good to hang out with you. I feel like for us working in the same building, we don't see each other as much as we should.
I know, quick, we grab a few minutes here and there, and that's it. But I'm glad we're settled in.
We do, and we're both coming off a break.
Yeah. Back
to getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and doing radio on different channels, but nonetheless, rowing the same boat in a lot of ways. Let's talk about, and I only got 10 minutes. At 10 minutes, you're walking out of here. That's the way this segment works. So I'm diving in. Let's talk real quick. Let's get into break. We have wildly different breaks. You have 2 small children. I have none.
Yeah.
How was the Christmas holiday break?
It was good. It was really good. I had in-laws in town. My wife's from Chicago, so her dad, my father-in-law, was with us for a while. Then we did Christmas and then went up to Chicago. So we were traveling, and the 2 kids, it's a lot. And then to come back and, we're supposed to go back to work and the snow hits, and so the kids are no daycare. So it was intense and wild, and I think we're gonna be all right. But man, I think about the parents who during COVID, with small children, and there should be a memorial or something. I don't understand.
Yeah, dude.
I don't understand how they did it, but it was good bonding with my in-laws.
Yeah, traveling during the holidays was an eye-opening experience. There are more children in the airports than I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I went to Hawaii over the break.
Yeah,
and I'll talk about that later in this app. But man, I'll tell you what. A lot of kids running the show. I saw a child walk up to. I just saw a mom and it was a mom and clearly her mom have a meltdown. It's like had a baby, tiny baby, 3-year-old walks up, bag full of Fruit Loops, and goes, "Hey!" Mom didn't respond, and he goes, "I said, hey!" And he hit her in the face with the Fruit Loops.
Yeah.
And the grandma was like, "That's not nice, Bryson. We don't do that to people, Bryson." And handed him the Fruit Loops, and he just held them up in front of her face and smashed the plastic bag until it popped.
Yes.
And Fruit Loops went all over the terminal floor.
Yeah.
The mom starts crying. She's like, "We're not going. I don't want to go to Arizona." And then she just gets out of line, and the kid just starts smashing the Fruit Loops under his feet. And then the mom goes up to like a Southwest flight worker and was like, "Hey, you guys might want to get someone to clean up that mess over there." And I'm like, lady, come on.
Yeah.
If your kids do something like that,
are
you going to offer, even if you don't mean it, are you going to offer to be like, "Hey, get a broom and a dustpan, like maybe I could clean this up"? Or is that, did she do the right thing?
No, I'm making an effort for sure, because it isn't, especially a situation like that. So if you're at a restaurant and they make a mess, I'm going to do my best to clean it up. But you always get to compensate when the check rolls around, and you got to go heavy if your kid is making a terrible mess the whole time.
Yeah.
You got to go real heavy. I'll evaluate. It's so funny too, because we have a dog at home, so I'm unaware of exactly how much food is dropping on the floor because it all just disappears. And then we'll go out and I'm like, Oh my God, that's insane how much there is. So I'm making up. But in an airport public situation like that, you gotta get in there and do the right thing.
Yeah, that happens to me at Airbnbs when my dogs aren't around. I drop stuff on the floor and I'm like, oh God, that's my problem now.
Even you, yeah. It's an eye opener.
So having kids, I can imagine. And yeah, when you sit down and you give a kid a bag full of Cheerios and they're all over the floor, you gotta make it right on the backside.
Yep, exactly.
I think that's the right thing to do.
I need to see those public meltdowns because they just make me feel so much better of the different, my son, my son is almost 3 and he does that stuff. Like it is a challenge, but especially airports, it's probably the worst. You see it and you're just like, all right, other people are dealing with this. We take him to soccer, which is a little, you can barely run and we go to soccer practice.
Yeah. It's like watching little drunk
yes.
play.
There's not even a lot of soccer involved. A lot of it is bubbles and hula hoops. But I just an image that
Probably like 9 shy kids all standing in the goal.
Yeah, right. Yes,
that's usually what happens. Everybody wants to be the goallie. They all just stand there.
Yep, it's like story time, all things that aren't soccer. But it's okay. It gets them used to listening to people, I guess. And there's multiple classes going on at once, and there was the 3-4-year-olds had a class, and I was watching this woman and her son, and the son was having a full meltdown. It was during bubble time, which for the kids is like, if they're not getting into the bubbles at soccer, then soccer's not for them. That's for my son, that's the highlight. And this woman is blowing the bubbles and just kind of dancing like a hippie in a field while her son is just screaming at the top of his lungs, and she's having this very like serene moment, creating her own little environment.
She's like the kindergarten teacher from Billy
Madison. Yep. And it was, and I reference that often when it gets tough.
Are there times when you see other kids just be complete shitheads that it makes you feel so vindicated as a parent? You just want to put your hand on the other parent's shoulder and be like, "Thank you."
Yeah, and people do that. I was having breakfast this weekend we brought the kids and my son was good. He's rambunctious. Like you're gonna know there's a 3-year-old there if we're in the restaurant, but it doesn't mean meltdowns. But he was making his presence felt.
You don't let your kid run wild.
No. I mean,
because I see the run wilders where the kids just like now they're in charge of the whole restaurant. They're grabbing chicken fingers off other people's tables.
Yes, and he'll get he's got the jelly on his fingers and then wants to touch the hair of the lady behind him and all. Like you gotta have some rules. But this guy, as I'm walking, people are witnessing this, and again, this was a pretty good outing for us. We were out of there probably 50 minutes and no huge meltdown, so it was good. And this guy on the way out, older guy, is like, "Good luck," and I'm like, "Thanks so much." And thinking, it's just like older parents are always saying that stuff, like it gets better, you're gonna be okay. And then it occurred to me that I was wearing a Notre Dame hat, and he meant like the game this weekend. Like, that's what he was talking, because he had referenced it when I walked in. I was like,
you took it as a pep talk.
Yeah, I'm so used to these people offering these profound, like.
It can also be a passive aggressive of like, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah,
kind of like, good luck.
Good luck with that one. Have fun at juvie.
You're clearly failing.
Yes. It was bad. But people are generally nice in public. I mean, situations.
You got a 3-year-old in what?
Jack's 9 months. Yeah.
Yeah. So that traveling is an ordeal.
Yeah, it's car or nothing for me. The plane thing we've done, and sometimes you got to do it. I have a brother that lives on the East Coast.
Yeah.
But anything else, I'm driving.
Yeah, if you can avoid planes at all costs.
Yep.
If someone opened an airline where it was just nobody under the age of like 12,
yeah,
I think they'd bank.
How has nobody done that?
I don't know, because I think there's a market for it. If it's just like, hey, this is an adults-only airline.
Yeah. That's a great call.
Oh, I see what's coming in. Sorry, somebody was airdropping something to me, and I didn't know what it was. I was like, we're getting hacked.
Don't apologize for an airdrop at any time at all. I was talking about my father-in-law being in town, and it's fun. He spends like a week with us, and it's great. He's great. We get along great, but I know that he loves his grandchildren because of the focus and effort he puts into recycling. Nobody knows as much about recycling. And I didn't know that until this past weekend, but we're doing the post-Christmas recycling, right? Where we're breaking down the boxes. And my father-in-law says to me, tape is not recyclable. So picture all of the boxes you have for little children's Christmas, aunts, uncles, cousins, whatever. And
Tons
you're
of
breaking
tiny
down
pieces of tape.
Yeah, all of it. It's not recyclable. And
That
he
means
takes
none
it
of
real
it's
seriously.
recyclable to me. That means it's all going in the trash.
Yeah, totally agree. But with him, I gotta do the right thing. So I'm breaking it down, and we are. Just the little, like the Scotch tape off of every little thing.
Did you ever think
looking out for the future? Because
you're a slasher, Tim Convey. For those of you that don't know, I should have been. I feel like you don't need introduction, but I'm bad about that. Rock star, member of band Ludo, successful stand-up comedian, successful radio host / dad now.
Yeah.
Do those other 3 slashes really come into perspective? Rock star, radio personality, stand-up comedian, tape remover. Like, was there a moment where you're just like, I'm somebody? Why am I doing that?
It is often humbling that my newly formed, very domestic situation, right? Because it was like COVID hit. I got married, had the kids, like it all happened quick, and it all went fast. Because before it was like, maybe I'll do this, and you never know if I'm gonna fly somewhere the next day. And I did this show, and now it is so much domestic things. It's the tape, it's the diapers, it's the up all night, the bottles, and it's all fantastic.
You don't have to say that here.
Tough.
You don't have to say shit like that here. You can just come. Your wife's not going to see this. She hasn't.
She's a fan.
This.
She's a fan.
You didn't listen to this.
Not true. She's
I don't
a fan.
believe that. She's too classy to listen to this show. I don't believe it. But I get it, man. It's like.
Wait, what don't I have to say?
You don't have to say like, oh, it's a beautiful, wonderful.
No, it is.
It is. I know it is, but I've had a kid.
Yeah.
And sometimes it sucks.
Well, yeah, sometimes it sucks for
Sometimes
sure.
like,
I'm not.
You know what I don't want to do today? I don't want to pick up spaghetti noodles off the wall.
Yes.
I had a hard day at work, and I wish I could just watch. I was yesterday, full disclosure, humble brag, I interviewed over the phone with America's Got Talent.
Nice.
I mean, we've both been there, man. You know how it goes. It's preliminary. Lydia's like, oh, I love your comedy. It's so relatable. And I was like, thank you. And she's like, I really love this one bit about your dad. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't do that. That's not me.
Shut up. Really?
But I was just like having the conversation. You know, it's a preliminary thing. And I think she was confused, maybe the grandpa bit or something. But the whole point, she started like asking me questions about my life. And I'm like, so, how are you busy? Also, you do radio and all this stuff. And I talk to you often because I'm like, dude, I don't know. Because we're roughly the same age. You're a few years younger than me. How old are you?
I will be 45 next month.
Okay, so you're 2 years younger than me.
Yeah.
A year younger than me, really. I'm counting you as 45.
Yeah, I'm 45 right now, yeah.
And I can't imagine having 2 young children.
Yeah.
Radio's killing me. I've only been doing it for a year and a half. It's getting up at this early is killing me.
Yeah.
Stand-up comedy is brutal. Finding time to write, finding time on, and I do other things too. I do podcast and I do sketch and I teach improv, and you're in a band on top of all of it. And I'm like, I can't imagine just finding the time to do all of those things and have 2 young kids also at home who are still in the poop stage of life.
Very much so, both of them. Yeah. I mean, if I was like a dirtbag liar, I'd be like, it's all about balance. But like, no, it's insane. It's terrible. I'm not good. I'm not necessarily good. I'm definitely not good at balancing it. All of those things suffer because of all of the things that I do. And if I was better at like time management, I'd be better at all of it. But it's yeah, it is all about balance. I can say that, but that doesn't mean that I've figured it out or I'm good at it. Like, it's just like keeping all the plates in the air and making sure that they're all moving forward. I mean, obviously the kids and the things they need, you have a partner in that one, which is great. So she can be like, hey, remember this thing? And you forgot this thing. And like, which is
2 people still
fantastic for sure. But all the other stuff, it's, it's a lot. It's irresponsible on my part, for sure.
Yeah, man. And that was kind of the point of bringing up AGT is I'm in the middle of this interview and it's dawning on me when she's like, well, she's asking me all these questions, because they're looking for the produced bit here. Like, what's your, he's got a son and then he's got 2 kids that are proud of him. I'm like, I don't have any of that. My life is this, lady. It is. I'm barely able to take this phone call. I'm so busy with no kids. My life is this. I I'm doing radio, podcast, stand-up, trying to make enough money to make up for the fact that I took my retirement in my 20s and drank my life away, and I don't want to die at work one day. So I need my career to hit enough that I can now take $1 million, put it in some sort of, give it to a financially responsible person, be like, don't ever let me touch this. You know, it's the Greg Warren thing. I've spent a lot of money on umbrellas and car chargers. I don't have a lot of retirement.
Yeah.
And I couldn't, it was just dawning on me during this conversation that I'm like, she's like, do you know what's your work-life balance? I go, there is none.
Yeah.
This is it, lady.
No such thing. Yep. And you know what's remarkable too is that all the things that we
My
do.
work-life balance was I was watching the Rams-Vikings game while I was doing the interview for AGT and just didn't tell her.
Yeah.
I had the mute on, and I'm like, this is big for my career, and I'm sitting here under my breath cussing Sam Darnold out. Is what I was doing during that. That was my balance, was taking that phone call.
You're multitasking leisure activities.
That's it.
Yes, it's completely true. It's also remarkable. I think people see all the stuff you do, the things that we're involved in, and it's like, it's so cool. It's remarkable how boring you become, the busier you become, right? Even despite all the cool stuff, and people think, oh, and this and this and this, and it's just like, it's incredibly and then show like, what'd you do? It's like, you don't want to know.
It is cool. The product is cool.
Yeah, right.
The work that goes into it sucks.
Yeah.
But, we're complaining. We're grateful. We're both very grateful for where we're at.
Yes, I know.
I don't want to come off like that. I got to be careful who you complain to, but I get it, man. And it's like, even on vacation, it's hard to be on vacation.
Yep.
Because you're like, oh, God, it's all piling up back home.
There's no such thing as a 3 or 4 day vacation because it takes you that long, I think, even to unwind and release some of those things, the voices. Yep.
I had to do 2 weeks so I could have 4 days to get into vacation.
Yeah.
3 days to be on vacation and 4 days to think about coming off vacation.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's just kind of how it works. But, boo fucking who. There's people out there working their asses off.
I know.
You know
we got
what?
it well.
This isn't about them. This is about us, bud.
It is. And speaking of that, I'm on to the next thing because my timer that you told me to set just went off.
All right. Well, before you go, I want to plug.
Oh, yeah.
Let's plug what I had you on to plug.
That's such a good example of my...
You're out.
I'll go do this thing real quick so I can plug the shows, and then didn't do it.
You are at the Funny Bone in St. Charles, Missouri.
Yeah.
St. Louis, local show. And each of us do pretty much 2 local shows a year. Yours is coming up this weekend.
Yeah.
At St. Charles. Tell us about it. Tell the people where to get tickets. Tell the people what they can expect, and plug your shit, brother.
Yeah, it's great. So Thursday through Sunday, January 16th through the 19th, 6 shows in 4 nights. Like you said, this only really happens once, maybe twice a year that I'll do the full weekend. It's great. Special guests are going to be there. Greg Warren is coming on Sunday. Brando from my show is going to be there Saturday. Rafe's going to show up, we think, and do some time as well. And then I've been doing music. So I close the show with some songs that I've written. A buddy of mine gets up and plays drums. It's real fun, and
it's very good, man.
It's fun. It's fun and it's different, and it means a lot to me. The whole these weekends are real special. So and then the great Sean O'Brien is opening up. So just I don't know. It's great. Streets of St. Charles is
great.
A
2-man show.
2-man show. Then with a couple of guests here and there.
Awesome.
But yeah, Sean's the best. So anyway, Tim Convey stuff.com. You can get tickets or the Funny Bone website, but it's the St. Charles Funny Bone, Streets of St. Charles, Thursday through Sunday. People should come out. It's a good time.
Holler, what's some socials?
It's at Tim Convey on Instagram and Facebook, and then timconveystuff.com is the website.
All right, get the hell out of here. Go
Thanks,
see Tim Convey.
buddy. Love you.
Later, dude. Go change them diapers. You need to borrow this table. Let me know. That was 10 Minutes with Tim. Go see Tim this weekend at St. Charles Funny Bone. Check out all of his socials. Very talented dude, very funny dude. We'll be right back with the next segment after this short word from our sponsor. Welcome back to the program. If you're unfamiliar with the number 2 show, you can call in anytime, day or night, to the Papa Squat hotline. That's 818-532-1420, 818-532-1420, and we'll get to that segment later. I got a really nice message from somebody we're going to handle in a segment I call Tank Talks. But before we get to that, it's time for a segment I like to call the Annals of History.
From the Annals of History.
Oh, the gravitas. And the history I want to talk about is 2024. It's over, baby. It's over. It's over. Thank fucking God it's over. What a year. 2024 was an interesting year for old Captain Pork Steak here, man. I don't know what you guys went through. Obviously, it was an election year. So that's traumatizing. No matter what, that traumatizes half the country, right? Because your person doesn't get elected, and I don't want to get into politics or anything like that, but that, the regime change is right around the corner. Hopefully things get better. I hope everybody gets what they think they're going to get. My guess is they won't, because it always sucks, and it's always shitty. And then we're like, why did we vote for this person? Get this other person in there. And then they suck, and then on it goes. The never-ending story. But I hope if your guy got elected, good for you. I hope everything goes well. But it's still traumatizing. It doesn't make the holidays fun either, because you got to duck all kinds of crazy arguments. And 2025 started out with a bang. LA's on fire. North Carolina's destroyed. The East Coast destroyed by hurricanes. It's colder than a witch's tit, colder than a well digger's ankles here in the Midwest. And LA is completely on fire. And, and I'm going to put some links here, but I want to shout out much love to my comedian friends out in LA, man. I think there's a lot of misinformation going around about, I see a lot of my Midwest people who've, from my hometown, who've literally never left the county they live in. Like, before you go giving your money to all these rich celebrities out in L.A., don't forget there's people that need things here at home. And I'm like, hey, dude, it's not all Steve Gutenberg's house that burned down. There's plenty of poor, broke comics that I know they're living 6 people deep in a 2-bedroom condo at the bottom. You've never been to L.A. You don't know how these neighborhoods are set up. I wish people would stop sharing stuff like that. But I can't control what's on social media. So all I can do is put good in the world. Right here, I'm going to point right now, and in post, we're going to put in some resources if you want to help donate, or at least get to the bottom of some good resources of how you can help people out in L.A. Because right now I've been sending money via Venmo just to my comedian friends and being like, go get what you need, man. Go get supplies. And if it's that simple, we'll do that. But there's plenty of people that are broke-ass mofos just like the rest of us that are suffering out there, man, and they just need the basics, all right? We're talking about socks. We're talking about underwear. We're not talking about rebuilding somebody's infinity pool that looks out over the Hollywood Hills. I'm talking about, giving people a meal that have nothing to eat. So we're going to put those resources here because that's how 2025 started, and it kind of sucked. I was in Hawaii because I took a little vacation. A volcano erupted while I was there, and I'm like, well, it's end times. All right, I'm in Hawaii. If it's going to end, fuck yeah, dude. I'm going to be in Hawaii when it ends, Like, why not be on new dirt when it all comes crashing down? I started watching the news in Hawaii, and I was like, what if we just go back and the continental United States is gone? Great time to take a vacay, I guess. But 2024 was a weird time. I was talking about it today, and I don't know if it was 2024, and this is just my personal opinion, an anecdote from me. It doesn't make it true, but I feel like this was the year we finally crossed over with AI making huge strides, and with Twitter basically not vetting information anymore. Facebook's following suit in 2025. We have finally reached the tipping point, the event horizon, if you will, where I think we are probably consuming more false information than truth across the board. Whether, the fires in LA started, and it took one day before people were saying it was space lasers, and the blue trash cans weren't burning because lasers don't burn the color blue. And I'm like, okay, here we go. We're beyond the pale now. And hey, I love a good conspiracy theory, but I just think, it's something to keep in mind moving into 2025 is 2024 will always be, to me, the year that I feel like it tipped to where we have images of people that aren't real, that aren't being vetted. We have, you can put somebody anywhere on the planet with AI. AI's writing things for people. AI's writing term papers for people. AI's learning things. We're not. AI's regurgitating things. We're not. And to please the masses, most of the big social media outlets don't care if they're telling you the truth or not. And we're on the verge of a TikTok ban. 2024 might be the year TikTok went away. Where will I get advertised beef tallow to rub on my face, and beard trimmers, and ball deodorant, And that's what I get. I don't know what demo you guys are in, but I'm in the beef tallow to the face for Hims, erectile dysfunction, hair replacement therapy, a new thing called Liven, which basically just lists the 7 signs of functional depression. And guess what? Got all 7. No big deal. Bright summer. So yeah, it's been 2024 was wild, and I capped it all off with a trip to Hawaii. I don't take a lot of vacations. I just decided last minute to go to Hawaii, and man, what a beautiful place. I'd never been. I'm trash. I've barely been anywhere cool. And we went to Hawaii for 2 weeks, man, and I went to the islands of Maui and Kauai, or I think it's Kauai. I think I've been saying it wrong. And then Oahu. All cool. Had a lot of crazy things happen while I was there. But it was a fun time. Went to Maui. I went and saw Steven Tyler's house. I wish he'd somebody was home when I went there, and I just wish Steven Tyler would have been on the other side, like on the intercom, and been like, "Can I help you?" And I'm like, yeah. Zibba-dabba-doo-boo, dibba-dabba-doo-boo. Let me in, Steven. I want to hang out on the beach with you. Gabba-ba-jaboo. Didn't happen, no. But still cool. Stole a couple rocks out of his driveway. Don't know if that's legal, but I did it. Because I'm a rebel. Drove the road to Hana, which is also called the road to divorce. It was a very long road. 67 miles. It takes like 3 hours, all these hairpin turns. Beautiful. Had fun. Went whale watching in Maui. I saw humpback. We were on a raft. Saw humpback whales out in the ocean. They come there to give birth. They go eat in Alaska. Then they come to squirt out the calf and to mate because the water's like 77 degrees. Pretty wild. Saw 2 humpback whales get into a fight over who's going to escort the female, and they were like blowing bubbles on the surface and ramming into each other. It was like kind of watching a bar fight in the ocean where you're like, hold me back, bruh. You're lucky, dude. You're lucky fucking Kyle's here, dude. Because I'm yellow belt in jiu-jitsu, dude. These hands are registered weapons, dude. It kind of felt like, we're not that far removed from nature, to be honest with you. It was literally like watching a couple guys get into a shoving match, over a pool table in a dive bar in Southern Illinois. I enjoyed it. I related to it. So we did that. Maui was great. Then I went to the beautiful island, the gym, quite frankly. It was the belle of the ball. Kauai. I don't know what the hell it's called. It's beautiful. It's the Nepali coast. It was very fun. We went on, we did a lot of cool stuff there too, man. We went on a catamaran ride around the Nepali coast. And brother, let me tell you, and so, you know what? Backtrack. Speaking of fires, we took the whale watching trip out of Lahaina where they had wildfires in Hawaii, last year. And, dude, they're rebuilding, and they do want tourists there. I did get the low skinny on that. I want people to know they just don't want you being a looky-loo. They don't want you driving around Lahaina trying to look at the carnage. And they didn't want you asking people about it. They didn't want you to be like, hey, what was it like living through the wildfires now that you've lost your home? I'm so sorry about you losing your home. They didn't want to hear any of that. They're like, don't make people relive their trauma, which totally made sense to me. And everybody was great, and they're rebuilding, and FEMA really kicked ass. There was a lot of temporary housing there. Hopefully they get the same kind of thing going in L.A. for people because I feel like they crushed it in Hawaii. Then we moved on to Kauai. Beautiful. We took a catamaran ride. There were 20, and we accidentally got there. We didn't know this was going on. You can look this up, dude. But it was like this eddy competition, right? It was going on in Oahu on the week after we were there. And every year, all these surfers come in from all over the world. You familiar with this, Zane? You know what I'm talking about? Let me see if I can find this. So this was going on while we were there. It's called the Rip Curl the Eddy, baby, in memory of Eddie Aikau Big Wave Invitational, Waimea Bay, North Shore, Hawaii. And they never know when they're going to have it. So all these surfers come in during this time of year, and they're waiting for the waves have to be a certain size. I think it's like 30 or 40 feet waves. which is like 20-foot swells, which is what was going on. This guy named Landon McNamara won it. He was a local guy, local music artist and surfer. Seemed like a cool dude. I was real happy for him. Let's pull up old Landon.
With waves up to 50 feet, the Eddie Aikau Big Wave Invitational brought the best surfers out into the water and thousands to Waimea Bay to watch this incredibly rare event take place. And today's big winner, Landon McNamara, son of Liam McNamara, who's the contest director. Now we have team coverage of the 11th Eddie Aikau Big Wave Invitational. But first, let's check in with sports director Rob DeMello with the highlights. Rob.
Hey, Gina, for just the 11th time in the 40-year history of the Eddie Aikau Big Wave Invitational, as you mentioned, the Bay called the day for an epic running in the most iconic and prestigious surf event in the world. It was an incredible scene for a memorable Sunday in the Aloha State as more than 20,000 spectators made their way to the Bay. 40-plus foot waves delivered some epic wipeouts and awe-inspiring rides all day long. At one point, it looked like defending champion Luke Shepardson could very well become the first ever two-time winner of the event and go back-to-back because he had an awesome ride in the very first heat of the day. But as the day went on, another North Shore legend would seize the moment as Landon McNamara had a three-wave total score of 135.8 thanks to that 50-pointer for the history books, finishing ahead of fellow Hawaii surfers Mason Ho and Billy Kemper. McNamara, a musician that reached #1 on iTunes, tops the charts in surfing's biggest tournament. A giant amongst giants, an emotional Landon McNamara spoke with our Nikki Schenfeld after becoming the 11th all-time winner of the Eddie.
I'm in shock. I'm still in complete shock. Crying and then sitting in the feeling and just really, it's kind of a feeling like what now, you know, like when you work your whole life for something and then it happens. I don't know.
Since you were how young have you been wanting to not just be in the Eddie, but just to win?
I mean, since the first ones I ever watched, when I was about like 8 years old or something like that, I got the big wave bug around like 13, and from then till now, I've put in a lot of hours on a lot of swells out here with this specific moment in mind, and it happened. Like, the ultimate dream to reality situation. I'm tripping, but so grateful, just grateful. This is life-changing stuff, you know, but beyond, it's what we dream of. And to see, like, I look at all of me and my friends as the underground, you know, and from underground to the crown is, I mean, we did it.
Pretty wild, man. It was cool to see, and dude, there was like 350,000 people. You had to go to the beach like the night before at midnight, camp out just to go watch. This is a huge deal there. I never heard of it, but it's like they don't have it every year. People come in, and sometimes they just call it off. The waves have to be like 50 feet or some crazy amount. This is like some fucking Point Break stuff, dude. And I know that guy's a struggling musician because he used iTunes as a credit. Been there as a comic where you're like, his album was #1 on iTunes. All you got to do is have 10 people buy your album in the same 10 minutes, and you can be #1 on iTunes. And I'm not hating on the guy. I know exactly where you're at, brother. And the fact that you had him put that in the newscast, good for you. That was good press. But good for him for winning. And he seemed like such a genuine dude. And we saw people, because we were out practicing for this, man, just wiping out on these giant waves. And I'm like, I would be so dead if I tried that. They're getting towed out on jet skis and riding away. I'm like, dude, I almost drowned in a wave pool one time. Straight up. I was drinking then. I ain't gonna lie to you, but I almost drowned in a goddamn wave pool. But we went out on a catamaran ride. The point of that story was we went out on a catamaran ride on these swells that make these waves, and they're like 20 feet. And the guy said before, he goes, we're going out on the Nepali coast. Does anybody here get seasick? And it's a whole boat full of tourists, and everyone's like, not me. Nuh-uh. Never. Like, never. And, dude, 30 minutes into this catamaran ride out to sea, we're, like, riding these big swells. And you go over the swells, and it takes your stomach away like you're on a roller coaster. It looked like a scene from the 1700s on the Mayflower, dude. Like, the whole fucking boat. The entire boat was in, like, half the boat was in the back, laid out, seasick, throwing up off the back of the boat. It was like the bubonic plague struck our boat. And for all the stomach problems I do have, I do not get seasick, which I'm grateful for. And I felt like Tina and I, we just had the boat to ourselves because everyone was throwing up. It was supposed to be like this romantic Nepali coast catamaran ride, and it's just people puking everywhere, dude. It was like that scene from Stand By Me, just people puking off the back of a boat. I don't even know. I think 10 marriages ended on this catamaran ride. But it was fun. And we were in Kauai, so we did that. We went to all the places where the Jurassic Park falls were at. It was beautiful. We hiked the Nepali coast. Went to a beach, let the sun go down, saw the stars at night. It was really, really beautiful. It was very lush and beautiful. It feels like you're on a different planet, you know. I've been to, like, Mexico, and I've been to the Bahamas, but this was Kauai's a different thing, dude. I was saying mahalo a lot, you know. I was wearing, like, a big rock necklace around. I kind of turned into a different person. I got a new level of tan that I didn't know existed, you know. And then we went to, you know, we saw a Polynesian luau, Polynesian Cultural Center, and they were doing some of the fire dances and telling us the stories of the islands, if you will. These are like some big, thick Samoan guys, you know, thick-thighed boys, built, but a little bit of cushion for the pushing, and you know. At one point, my partner turned to me and said, I think you might be part Samoan. And I was like, you know what? Fuck you. I know what that means. And she's like, seriously? She's like, these guys look like they could be your cousins. They're all like thick-necked, broad-body guys in grass skirts. A lot of yelling. Seemed like they had maybe anger problems. I get it. I could see where she would come to that conclusion. But they're not. We're not related. Did a lot of cool stuff. I would say one of the highlights was we got in a shark cage with some Galapagos sharks. That was pretty wild. I did a lot of nature stuff. I got to know nature, dude. Whales, sharks. Went to this place called Poipu Beach where the sea turtles come in to sleep at night. And these are giant, like, green sea turtles the size of a small Volkswagen. And you're just snorkeling, dude, and then you're in the water letting the current take you in about 5 feet of water, and a sea turtle just comes floating by. Just like, what's up? And you can, like, high-five their flipper. You're not allowed to touch them. Don't do that. But you could if you wanted to. They're that close. You're just face-to-face. They're getting up on there. It was nuts. So we go do that. Had fun. Then we go to Oahu. Now, Oahu is Waikiki Beach. It's Honolulu. It was like leaving a tropical paradise to go to a place that had all the worst parts of L.A., Las Vegas, and Destin, Florida. Like, they just had an orgy and spit this city out. Waikiki Beach. If you are a tourist and you got a bunch of kids, I see why it's appealing. You got everything you need. It's got a mall. It's got Louis Vuitton stores. I hated every second of it. We got the hell out of there. Went to the other side of Oahu. Got in a shark tank. Dove with the sharks there. Also, coolest thing we did excursion-wise, we found a pod of wild dolphins. We're way out to sea. They put you in a little Navy SEAL raft with snorkel gear, and they're like, hey, we're going to get in front of this pod of 100 and 200 dolphins, and we're going to drop you guys off. They're going to swim all around you. So we would get out in front of them, and we'd all dive off the boat, and then you're just in the water, and all these wild bottlenose and spinners and all kinds of dolphins, dude, just surround. I mean, it was crazy. And I didn't feel bad. I always feel like swimming with dolphins. Like, when you go, I don't want to go in a tank and see some bottlenose dolphin stuck in a tank that has to come up and hump your leg so it gets a fish. I don't like that. It makes me feel weird. These were wild dolphins. If they wanted to hump my leg, it was of their own volition. And I like that. I'll let a dolphin hump my leg, but it has to be consensual, do you know? Because that's what I'm about. But it was very, very cool and surreal. And we had 4 Chinese teenagers on that trip. Didn't pay attention at all during the briefing, you know, and then we were chalking it up to a language barrier. They were playing grab ass and being, you know, and it's nice to know it's a global thing. Teenagers fucking suck everywhere. So they're, speaking Mandarin back and forth, and seemed like maybe the girl was trying to be like, hey, if you get in the water, be quiet, don't splash around. The dolphins will hang out longer if you don't startle them, da-da-da. These guys sucked. They couldn't swim. They were splashing around. One of them jumped off the boat when they weren't supposed to. So then we all had to jump off the boat. It was just a nightmare. They almost ruined it. And I was like, well, that's a language barrier, man. They don't know what's going on. They're trying to figure it out. And then I took a video in the water of all the dolphins. And after the trip was over, one of the Chinese teenagers who's listening to Chinese trap, who's listening to American trap music, making TikTok videos, just ruining the natural aesthetic on the boat. And I'm like, teenagers really are the same everywhere. They're insufferable little shitheads. And he goes, hey, man, could you send me that video of all the dolphins you took in the water? And I'm like, whoa, you speak perfect fucking English? So you guys are just dicks. You're just dicks. So you heard everything she said. You ignored everything she said. And we probably would have had a better time with the dolphins if you guys weren't splashing around like assholes. But hey, what are you going to do? You can't control who goes on these excursions with you. But I'm burying the lead a little bit here, guys. Because when I was in Oahu, we went to a beach Christmas Eve. I go to a restaurant and I say, hey, can you squeeze us in? It's my girlfriend's birthday tomorrow. She's a Christmas baby. The host is like, this is Buzz's Steakhouse. Christmas Eve's our busiest day. We get reservations a year in advance. And he goes, but you don't know how lucky you are. I just had a cancellation. And if you guys can eat in 90 minutes, I can get you out of here. And I'm like, we can eat in 30, brother. You just start bringing shrimp and I'll go to town. So we sit down at Buzz's and we start to eat. And some black Lincoln Town cars pull up, some big Escalades, and I'm like, oh, Joe Biden's here. Joking around like he doesn't know it. And the lady at the next table goes, it's Obama. And I go, oh, good one. Way to get in. Way to yes and my bit. That's good improv. But then out walks this tall, cool drink of water in board shorts and a cool Hawaiian shirt, and it's Barack motherfucking Obama. And then Michelle gets out. Then Sasha and Malia get out. And that's the president of the United States, dude. Grew up with these little girls. I felt like an uncle. I was like, my God, the girls are getting so big. Look at them. Malia's all grown up. She's got a boy with her. I wonder if they're going to get married. I mean, who knew? And the Obamas apparently live like 3 miles from this place. It's a Christmas tradition for them to come there. They were welcome. And it was just wild to see President Obama out in the wild. And then I was like, there's this scruffy-looking dude in a hat that kind of looked like, I was like, man, that guy kind of looks like a beat-up Eddie Vedder. Well, no, it was just Eddie Vedder. So anytime you're hanging out and Eddie Vedder's is the secondary thought, if you meet the lead singer of Pearl Jam and it's the secondary thought, that's how famous ex-presidents of the United States are. But it was funny to see all of these Secret Service guys pile out of these cars trying to blend in Hawaiian shirts. And they're all fucking jacked out of their minds, ripping these shirts. They still got a gun on the side and an earpiece in, and they're just standing around at a seaside, a very laid-back, casual seaside steakhouse, by the way. It wasn't anything special. And these guys trying to blend in. It was just hilarious, dude. And they're all gigantic black dudes. There was one white guy, but mostly just gigantic black dudes. And I don't know if that's accidental or I don't know if Obama's like, hey, I want a crew of my people guarding me. I don't know. I don't know how that works. But it was just a lot of big, ripped out of their mind, 6'6", tear your head off, Michael Clark Duncans all over the place. And I was like, these guys are not blending in at all. But it was just funny to see. And I snuck a couple pics, and we'll put those up here in post. I'll send these to Zane. Right here's where we'll put pictures. If you're watching the video pod, here's a picture I snuck of Obama and a terrible picture I snuck of Eddie Vedder. But overall, it was a good vacation. Hawaii was an interesting place. It was a good way to say goodbye to 2024, a year that was weird for me. 2024 was one of those years, and it happens for everybody, I'm sure, career-wise, everything, great year. Wonderful year for my career. Another year on the Rizz show. My stand-up comedy, my Don't Tell stand-up comedy special came out. Did really well. Got millions of views on TikTok. I'm pushing 200, 300,000 views on YouTube right now. And Great. Career was great. Personal life, total dog shit. It was just one of those years, and that's the balance of the universe, baby. My personal life, the balance, it got to me. I got worn down. I got burned out. My relationship struggled. I feel like I lost track of some friendships that were important to me. I feel like I dropped the ball in my personal life in 2024. So that's my New Year's resolution, number 2 to the Bowl Patrol, is to work hard, to keep doing what I'm doing, try to make this show better, try to work hard to make all the projects I'm involved in better. My 2 resolutions are this, maybe 3. 1, control the things I can control. I'd recommend that to everybody because I felt like a lot of things happened to me in my personal life that are out of my control this year, and I didn't like that. 2, get real weird with it. Yeah. I'm going to get real fun. I'm embracing my weird this year. Okay? I'm on the backside of my 40s, and I'm done giving a fuck. Going to get real weird this year. And I hope you'll get weird with me. But I'm telling you right now, it's going to get weird. So be ready. Those are the big 2. And 3 is to nurture some relationships, to be a little bit better at. So if you're a friend or somebody out there that feels like I've been absent for you, I'll do my best to remedy that. But also take care of myself, you know? You got to take care of yourself. That's what I recommend everybody do in 2025. That's the recap of the Hawaii trip. That concludes this segment, the Annals of History. That wraps up my 2024 going into 2025, and we'll be right back to wrap this thing up. All right, everybody, that is going to wrap up today's show. Special thanks to Tim Convey for filling in for Rizz. Make sure and go see him this weekend at the Funny Bone St. Charles. 6 shows all weekend long. What a great show, man. Hung out with Tim. We got into a 2024, 2025 recap. We talked about Hawaii. I tried to give you the highlights of my vacation, just in case you're thinking about going there. I had a good time. I hope you did too. Stay tuned. It's going to be a big year for the number 2 show. It's going to be a big year for all of us, the whole Bow Patrol. We're all in this thing together. Make sure we donate to the LA wildfires if you can, man. That's something that a lot of my comedian friends are really struggling right now. So we'll do the best we can to try to ease the pain of other people, man, because the service you provide is the rent you pay for the space you take up here on planet Earth. A good friend of mine told me that one time, and it stuck with me for a long time. Until next time, I'm your host, Rafe Williams. Stick around. See you all year on the number 2 show.